I don't think I'm part of the committee.
You are not, but you are more than welcome, and as many
Okay.
people as can come, the better. But we still have, we have three out of the four, so we're okay. So whenever you're ready, Tim, we can
Okay,
start.
I just started it. Hey,
Oh,
Luann.
fantastic. Okay. Well, again, welcome to everybody as we start this fantastic journey of our long-range plan. It should be an exciting process that will involve the staff, the community, the board, as many people as we can get input from, the better. Mr. Newell maybe does not know the rest of the people, so if you would introduce yourselves, that would be great. Tim, you want to start?
Sure. Hello, John. My name's Tim Wiles. I'm the library director. I started in 2014, and I have helped to draft one long-range plan, which was in effect from 2016 to 2019. And then we set it aside due to construction, and then again due to the pandemic, and here we are.
Got it. Thanks. Yeah, I did meet you at one point when you were opening the place up.
Thank you.
Narina?
Hey, I'm Narina. I'm one of the board members. I'm an attorney. I live in Guilderland. I don't know what else I should be saying.
That's fine. And Andrew, you go next.
Yes, I am one of the, what shall we call it, interim board members. I'm retired. I was a lot of years with the state of New York involved with strategic planning and analysis and all sorts of interesting organizational change things and stuff.
Good to meet you, Andy.
Yep, you too.
Natalie, you want to go next?
I'm Natalie Hurto. I'm the very new assistant director. Today was actually my first day.
And John, why don't you introduce yourself to the group? John, you introduce yourself to the group.
Well, my name is John Newell. I'm a mostly retired professor of biomedical engineering at RPI. But I still have a lab over there, so I do a little bit of work, but mostly retired and doing other. To keep myself busy, I go to Bethlehem Central High School 2 days a week and help out teaching the physics laboratories on the days they have labs. So I've enjoyed that. I taught at the medical center for a while, and what's relevant here? I've had leadership posts in my local church and in faculty at RPI or some different places. But I've never been so much involved in long range planning yet, but I thought I'd find out what's this all about.
Right. I had invited John. He had applied for our vacant trustee positions. And as a retired gentleman, I thought maybe he'd have time. And if he was interested, we'd love to have him because we do need community input. Tony, you're next.
Yeah, I'm Tony. I'm just one of the members of the board.
And then Luann.
Hi, everybody. I'm Luann Nicholson. I'm the public information officer for the library. I've been there just a little over 3 years now.
Fantastic. Okay, I think all of you have received the copies of our old mission statement, or I should say our old plan. And we have to decide on do we just want to mimic that plan or perhaps take a different direction? If you want to give me some feedback on that, I certainly would appreciate it. Tony, you want to start? Tony?
No, I'm reading through it now. Somebody else can start.
Okay. Narina, have you had a chance to read it? Narina?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
No, I haven't. No, I was in another meeting earlier today, and then I was at work all day, so I literally just walked through the door. I have not pulled it up.
Oh, okay. As I said, this is the plan that we developed before the edition. And one of the sort of beginnings of the plan is our mission statement. And you also have received the sort of potential outline of how we can attack our new plan from that Andy developed. And one of the things that I thought maybe we could just simply accomplish today, if we will agree, is the mission statement. The one thing that Andy suggested that we add to the mission statement, and I'll read our original one. It says the mission of the Guilderland Public Library is to provide quality library materials and services to our community for lifelong learning, cultural enrichment, and enjoyment. And to fluff that out a little bit more, Andy's suggestion is the mission of the library is to provide a balanced collection of quality library materials. So the addition would be a balanced collection and services to all members of our community, rather than just in services to our community, to all members of our community. If you can take a look at that and see if you agree with that or disagree with that, we could actually present that possibility to our meeting coming up next week.
Why the change? And what does balanced mean?
Okay, let me give you an idea where this came from. So when I looked at the long-range plan of 2016 and 2022, and I looked at, there was a vision statement, value statement, okay? One of the things that in 21st century, we don't do long-range planning as much as strategic planning because the world changes so much. This whole notion of 5-year and 10-year plans are great, but it's more strategic planning. So what you try to do is to get the thing focused. So what I did was looking at what was already in the long-range plan that we had, the value statement, the vision statement, and looking at what's going on in the world now. And Tim and I had a few emails back and forth about this because there was a big article in the New York Times about this. And a balanced collection, this begins to speak to this notion of what we have in our library. And this whole notion of banning books and banning this and that and keeping freedom of speech and all of that. And I got the balance notion, I think, was from the Public Library Association, right, Tim? That one you sent me, I think that's in their statement. So that's a good way to approach any conflicts you have where people are complaining about what the materials or services, what the content is, where you seek to do a balanced situation. The notion of all members gets to what we see when we walk into the library. It says, the libraries are for everyone. This addresses the notion that we want to find ways for anybody in the community to have lifelong learning, cultural enrichment, and enjoyment, and that stuff is in the vision and the values that's in the current long-range plan. So to sort of put it all together and to make it simpler, okay, I thought it would be good to write in the mission statement because that's easier for everyone to remember. And if you look right below that on the document, one of the things that we do in strategic planning now is to come up with a theme, which is sort of the shorthand, quick way of looking at the mission statement. And you can also use that for marketing as a meme. So we could say learning, enrichment, enjoyment. You, whoever it is, can find it at GPL. And you means anyone in the community, and it includes staff. So that's where all that came from. This is just me taking a shot at this stuff as an example of what we could do.
Tony,
Andy, you referred to an article in the New York Times. Could you give us a little, I'd like to read that. Where is it?
What was the name of it? I'm working off of Tim, do you have a?
Yeah. I'll send it out.
Thank you.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah, it was all about this that's going on with the libraries, and Tim also had a good article back from 2016. I forget where it was from in the Library Association, in response to that. So
John, though, could I ask for your email address? You're the one person that on this group that I might not have.
Well, you probably don't. Newell J, Newelj at rpi.edu.
Okay, and it's only one L in the Newell here?
Yeah, it works with two, but the official version is only got one. Yeah.
Okay. It'll be a couple minutes, but I'll find it and send it out.
No hurry. No hurry.
So.
Thanks.
Tony, does that help?
A little.
What did you say?
A little. I don't know if we really need to change the mission statement, but
Okay, Natalie, it looked like you wanted to say something.
I had a couple of just suggestions, possibly. I think I like what you said, Andy, in both cases. Did we want to add something like physical and digital materials? That was the first one. And then the second one is, do we want to add programs and services?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Although
adding that.
program is a service, but there's
Okay.
nothing wrong with
Do you
calling
want
it
to
out.
differentiate or just leave it services
I don't mind
as a broad term?
differentiating. I'm saying that because I want you to be aware that, or want everyone to be aware that the previous committee was obviously thinking about programming, but differentiating it is a good idea because that makes that clear, you know? So I'm okay adding programming or programs.
And
I do want to say, without getting into any kind of long, dragged out debate about philosophy, that part of me agrees a little bit with Tony. I haven't spoken to Tony beforehand, but I would say that for the second change, I have no problem adding all members of our community, but to me, the definition of the community is everybody. And in terms of the first one, I do value, of course, a balanced library collection. You know, I guess that I'm just cautious here. You know, assessing a collection of a couple 100,000 items to ascertain if it's balanced is a complex process. And, you know, we may be committing ourselves to something that is pretty tough to do. But related to that, we have, with Natalie's help, yesterday she worked for UHLS and finalized a project, and today she works for us. So we are subscribing to a database or a piece of software called Collection HQ, as in headquarters, and it allows you to assess your collection based on really almost any factor that you can think of. So you can assess it based on subject matter, you can assess it based on circulation, you can assess it based on the race and gender of the author, et cetera. So we subscribe to that software now, and one of our intentions with it is to find out. I'm going to be quite honest about it. One of the reasons some members of our staff wants it is that it's very much the word of the day to be looking at your collection to make sure that it is balanced from a DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion point of view. And I have no problem with that. I support that. But you could also use it to see if your collection was balanced from any other point of view. You could look at it and say, you know, Guilderland Library patrons demonstrate a strong interest in cookbooks. Do we have enough cookbooks for them? Or, you know, we have way too many cookbooks for the level of interest that the library patrons have shown. So it doesn't have to be used just for DEI, but that is one of the reasons that both Guilderland and the other libraries in the system pursued it. So I hope it's obvious, Andy, that we support the goal of being balanced. I don't know exactly how to say it, except that if you get every concept you want into the mission statement, it's going to be a long mission statement. That's just sort of my initial reaction to the suggested changes. And I'm not standing in our way. If we want a balanced collection in our mission statement, you know, I'm loving it. So it should be a balanced collection.
Well, The new program that Upper Hudson is promoting or having made available, I think my idea of a balanced collection, that you have your children's, your adults, you know, those types of different communities, your disabled community, that you're providing materials, again, based upon request and need, but that you service both the conservatives in your community, the liberals in your community, you know,
Everybody.
everybody in the community. And so I sort of liked the balanced collection because as Andy, I think, pointed out that it's sort of a refreshing statement, but I can see where you're saying that it may be a difficulty programmatically, in trying to maintain that balance. So I'm sort of struggling with that.
One of the advantages I see of putting a balanced collection in there is that it could be it might be useful someday as a defense against somebody who says, "What do you got this stuff in there for?" And then, in our judgment, it is a matter of balance to have that and a bunch of other stuff in there, and so no particular constituency gets to say our stuff is I want
More
more.
important. Yeah.
That's the official reason why I put it in there, because that responds to the New York Times article and the 2016 article, right? Exactly.
I was just reading your mind there, Andy. That's all.
Yeah. Luann, I got your suggestion about adding programs and services to differentiate the two, but you said something else that you were suggesting, and I missed that. What was your first point?
Oh, sure, Barbara. The first point, and then I'm not sure, as Tim said, we don't want this to be too long, but I don't know if we want to spell out physical and digital materials or just leave it as is.
I like Luann's idea there because even since the 2016 long range plan, libraries have changed significantly, and the use of these electronic materials was growing 20 to 30% a year before the pandemic, and then during the pandemic grew exponentially. So I think any opportunity to point out to our patrons that about half of our circulation is electronic is a good opportunity to point that out.
This might be the place to
A big bag of chips. We're not eating the whole thing. Where's your lunchbox?
May I suggest that if you're not talking, you mute your microphone?
You know,
do you know
you could-
who the other party is that's on the phone?
That's Elish, Melchiad.
Oh, okay. We haven't heard from her. But
Sorry, my thing unmuted. I apologize.
Okay. Getting back to Luann, so balanced collection of quality, and then how do you want it to read?
I was suggesting maybe quality physical and digital materials, unless unless anybody wants to say it a different way.
I don't know.
I would.
It's a library, right? So we know what it is. And I mean, quality is sort of a given. So you could say, provide a balanced collection of physical and digital materials. I think we said programs and services. Was that one of the other suggestions?
Right.
That would make it a little bit shorter. We take out words which are sort of givens.
Yeah, I like that idea. Quality, yeah, it's a given.
I also like taking quality out, Andy, because there's a long history in libraries of curating or judging the material, and kind of sort of culturally superior people that ran libraries in the 1880s, 1890s were gatekeepers, and they said this kind of book is worthy of reading and this kind of book is not worthy of reading. So if quality is very subjective, so I think it'd be good to take quality out.
So we could make it is to provide a balanced collection of physical and digital materials, programs, and services.
Works for me.
And I don't know, responding to what I think Phil said, whether if we have balanced in there, that may cover all members of our community. Because if it's balanced, right, you know, it's one of it. So we may not need that.
Yeah,
So
another point along that line is that all members, there are going to be some people who have no interest whatsoever in this stuff, and I'm not sure it's part of our mission to go find them out and make them read something. So just leave it out. Do it for the community, and that does it.
Yep. So, so I think what we're saying is the mission statement, our suggestion is to make it the mission of the Guilderland Public Library is to provide a balanced collection of physical and digital materials, programs, and services to our community for lifelong learning, cultural enrichment, and enjoyment.
Alish, we haven't heard from you, and Narina, would you be agreeable to that? And then Tony.
Hey, I'm here. Sorry. The snow kind of threw me off picking up my kids, so I didn't mean to be in the car, but
No,
yeah,
that's fine.
You
want him to read it
80
again?
degree weather yesterday, but so my thought is just to make sure there's that like inclusive like word all or something like that in there. I might have missed it when you were reading through it. We had something similar to that at the BCS school, you know, accessibility to, you know, nature-based learning for all. So having that maybe the all part at the end would be cool. But otherwise, I think it sounds good.
That phrase was in your materials, but in the discussions, a number of people basically said program services to members of our community, and that in itself was all inclusive as members. And so that the reading now does not include all members. It just says services to members of our community, because people felt that, you know, we're dealing with the entire community in that statement.
We took out members too and left it as it is and services to our community, because the notion was that this balanced collection idea means that we're looking at all the different varieties of constituents and stuff, as well as the different perspectives and stuff all in one, so that this notion of balance captures, you know, the equity and the diversity and the inclusiveness. I mean, originally I thought of all members of our community, but some folks are thinking, well,
Right.
but that could be a problem with people who don't care about libraries or anything.
Okay.
I think,
Yeah, no, it's not the hill I'll die on, but yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay. How about you, Narina?
yeah, I think that the balanced portion of the sentence refers to the materials, not necessarily the people. So I would say that we can still include all members of the community. And to the comment that maybe all members are not interested in the library, we still provide the services. So I don't see a problem with that. I like the statement as it was, with the balanced portion of it at the beginning of the sentence and all members of the community.
Okay. How about you, Tony? Are we getting to make you comfortable yet or not?
No, I don't like the balance part. I feel like it can also be used offensively as well as defensively, but if I'm the only one that sees it, then it'll be passed regardless. So
How could it be used offensively?
because who's going to be the one that judges what is balanced? I understand we have a tertiary software that's going to do that, but you can also make that argument that, you know, depending on who's looking at it, it can be judged as balanced as one way or the other.
Well, that's where it comes down to the library management and staff and the troops involved, who are professionals, get to say what constitutes balanced. And you, the outsider, somebody who's bitching and moaning about something, don't. That's how I'd handle it.
I I should say that I think the balance is a fluid concept. It's not going to be balanced from all points of view at all times. It's the mission statement to make it as balanced as possible for the members. But the balance, as you were saying before, might change. If we have less people that want cookbooks, then and if we have too many books that are cookbooks, then the balance is off in that sense. I'm just giving an example. But I think it's a fluid concept because we are striving in our mission statement to do that. We're not saying that we are completely 100% there. I think it's a mission statement. We're not saying that we are. We're striving to do that.
Does that help, Tony?
I'll acquiesce. That's fine.
I think I would like to jump in a little bit with my comments about what Tony is saying. I think when you call out that you're balanced, and I tried to say this earlier, but I didn't know how. I think when you call out that you're striving for balance, you invite outside assessment. And I'm not sure that I agree with John that the proper people to assess whether the collection is balanced is the library administration and the librarians who buy the books. I also think, of course, that the public has every right to ask any question that they want to ask. But I just feel like it's a little bit of a slight lightning rod. It's very minor and very subtle. The other thing I want to say is I'm sorry I might disagree with you, John, on a point, but I believe that the 2/3 of the Guilderland community that does not have a library card and yet pays for the library are, to put it in a more religious term, those are the people we need to evangelize to. We're providing great services and they're, for whatever reason, not taking advantage of them, maybe not aware of them, but they deserve the effort of our reaching out to let them know that we might be able to make a difference in their lives.
Well, I'm good with that. Sure.
Natalie?
Yeah, I just was thinking I'm kind of in favor of removing balanced. I do understand the point of it, especially in this, day when seems like all of our libraries are being, faced with challenges. But I think a great way to remedy that is to say, take out balanced and to say the mission of the Guilderland Public Library is to provide access to a collection of quality materials and services, because that's really what we are here to do, is make sure that they have access to these things. So even if it's not physically on the shelf at the library, they can come in here and we can get them access to it. We can find it.
And the access, hints at the digital thing as well. Plus,
Correct.
presumably all trustees know that we routinely borrow stuff, not just from the 28 other libraries in Upper Hudson, but from libraries around the world. So we provide access. Like if you want everything that's ever been written about supply side economics, you can eventually get it. It will take a while, but and we may send you, John, to a college library for access to some of the more arcane things, but it's all possible.
So maybe we take out balance, but leave in all members. So that addresses, we have to, what'd you say, evangelize the other people, and all members, would sort of drive that. So we could make it the mission of the Guilderland Public Library is to provide access. I think that's good. Provide access is good to a collection of physical and digital materials, programs, and services to all members of our community for a lifelong learning, cultural enrichment, and enjoyment.
That's good.
I'm in favor of that.
Yep.
It's fine.
Tony, you're all set?
Yeah.
And I don't know if Andy saw this, but it was put in the chat. What does it say here? The equitable access to equitable access. I think that's an important thing to add in there too.
What is that supposed to mean?
provides free and equitable access to services. So like I think that kind of mentions like the digital services, you know, how you get access to those materials. We're going to, for all community members, find a way to get you that access. So it's equitable access. So some people who don't have, you know, the Wi-Fi connections, they can't attend digital, you know, can't get digital materials. We have physical materials. If you need to do curbside pickup, if you need to phone something in, basically we can accommodate your need.
So do we take out physical and digital and put in equitable?
To say
would be
equitable
hesitant
access, I
unless
would be okay with that.
If it's a goal, yes. If it's closer to a statement, not so much, just because unless you're offering a lot of like translations or like, you know, things like that of materials, it might not be seen as equitable. Because to me, equitable means you take into account the demographics of the area and try to make that more accessible for them in terms of also, I don't know. I don't know all the services we provide as someone who's new. I'm just adding that asterisk just to be wary of the word equitable if it's not the case. If we're not offering, you know, translated documents or transportation to get people to the library or things like that. I don't know. Again,
Well,
just kind of throwing that out there. That might not be the most accurate.
Well, if we have all members though, doesn't that imply equitable?
It
I would
implies
agree.
welcoming, that we are open to everybody. You know, like that this will be a safe place for everybody, and we'll try to meet the needs of everyone. Equitable is more of like getting everyone on a level playing field, right? So offering translation services, offering. I don't know if there's like, I know we just did away with like late fees and things like that. Correct? Is my understanding?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so otherwise, had we not had that, I would have said, is there a sliding scale? Is there a, you know, consideration for financial difficulties, things like that? That would have, so that kind of does support the equity, using that word equity. I just would be curious, like, what other things we do to meet that need. We provide internet at the library, but if you don't have a way to get to the library and you don't have Wi-Fi at home, you don't have access to that stuff. You know what I mean?
Well, but the library certainly can't provide a taxi service to get people to the library
course.
in a sense, you know, so we
of
do the
course.
best we can with the situation that we're in, you know, with the building. We don't have a mobile, bookmobile or anything like that. We do have, you know, home deliveries for people that are homebound. And, you know, we've been doing that for years. But
So maybe that would check that bucket as long as those are all material, like that's materials that coincide with like maybe some of the activities and presentations and things we're doing. Is that stuff we deliver as well, or do we only deliver like the physical books?
Tim can answer that one, but I'm sure if somebody, I don't know, would want to
Do outreach story times every once in a while. We typically have not done any off-site programs for grown-ups or the elderly, for example, at a retirement community, although we've occasionally taken a book club on the road for a purpose like that.
Right, I was just going to say, I know we've done like book clubs at retirement homes. But I'm still a little bit trouble with free and equitable access. Free, the library is meant to be free. So do we really need the word free?
I think that if we have to all members of our community, I think that covers it, because we're going to provide access to all this stuff. We're not going to be able to provide access to everything to everybody, but we're going to provide access to them. Okay, to all members of the community, you know, the best way we can. So I'm thinking that if we leave the all members of our community in, that sort of covers all of this, you know, and we don't put in the hot button word of equitable, which is as hot button as balanced, I think.
That's exactly, yeah.
So let me see if this is what we're looking at right now. The mission of the Guilderland Public Library is to provide access to a collection of physical and digital materials, programs, and services to all members of our community for lifelong learning, cultural enrichment, and enjoyment.
Anybody disagree with that?
Not here.
Uh, Andy, read it one more time so that everybody really hears it and understands.
Okay, and
What
you know,
was
and this is a really important discussion because crafting the mission statement like that really gets us all on the same page for doing the long-term planning on all of this, because everything we're going to be doing is driven by this. So the proposed statement is, the mission of the Guilderland Public Library is to provide access to a collection of physical and digital materials, programs, and services to all members of our community for lifelong learning, cultural enrichment, and enjoyment.
I personally think we've landed in a good spot.
I have
Anybody
one-
else?
I have one suggestion, addition by subtraction. If you take out the three words, a collection of, you're providing access to
Mhm.
materials. Like, why do you need that now in the collection?
Oh, right, we don't need that, right. Okay, so we got the mission of the Guilderland Public Library is to provide access to physical and digital materials, programs, and services to all members of our community for lifelong learning, cultural enrichment, and enjoyment.
Nice cut there, Tim.
Yep, I
Good.
like it.
Thanks, I like to cut.
Works for me.
No, that's good. So we will present this to our board and share some of the discussion that entailed. The next step, who would want to tackle certain things? Well, first of all, do we want to follow the same pattern as our old long-range plan? Or do you want to take a completely different approach? Natalie knows that there are hundreds of different types of long-range plans, some short, some long. Natalie, in your experience at Upper Hudson, do you find the shorter ones is more meaningful, the longer ones more meaningful? What have you observed?
So when I was at Upper Hudson, when we were working with libraries to do their long range plans, we did a couple of things like groups, or we would do community surveys. Has that something, I know you did a survey regarding like the physical space of the library with the construction, but has there been a community survey or any kind of focus group on the future of the library?
There hasn't been yet, but that obviously has to be part of this plan.
Yeah.
What Andy has suggested is that maybe Luann could coordinate some kind of a, I don't know if you do it over the internet, if you'd put it in a newsletter, picking up on our mission statement of learning, enrichment, enjoyment. You can find it at GPL, and just ask the those questions. How can we make our collection of materials and services fit your needs or however?
Forget the first question. We only need the second question now. How can we help more members of our community find more learning, enrichment, and enjoyment? That's a question for staff, to do. And then for the community, it's how can we help you find more learning, enrichment, and enjoyment? Because we have to remember that we want to bring the staff in on that. The staff need to find learning, enrichment, and enjoyment at the library, just like the community does. So how do we collect the information? Because that drives all the detail in the long-range plan. If we leave the long-range plan, we use the organization that's got it. We update the mission statement, update our community, update the purpose and the accomplishments. We don't need the vision statement because that stuff is now built into the mission statement. And then we update the rest of that. You know, to become who we want to be, we're committed to achieving the following goals through these specific strategies. We update that according to the information that we get in answer to that strategic question from the staff and from the community.
But now, Luann, you're our go-to person on this one. How do we reach the community? And John, you can pitch in here because you're sort of the community member here. What is the best way to extend that question, maybe even to non-library users? Is there any suggestions that anybody would have? Because if we can attract statements from individuals, both that use the library and that don't, how do we go? What materials or modalities do we use? Can we use our website, our Facebook page, our newsletter?
Sure. Yeah, we could use all those different methods. One thing we could do is, and I've done this, we did this earlier on in the pandemic, was we sent a survey out to everyone through our constant contact. So the same method that we use to send out the monthly newsletter and the e-news that went out today, weekly, we could use that same method. And that's only capturing library users, and that's only capturing people who have subscribed to our e-news. So we're,
Yeah,
that's
it
only a
seems to me-
portion of the people. So we would need, something else. We used to have the Our Town, which hit the whole community, and that was great. But Our Town has, ceased operation as of the beginning of this year. So, so we need to reach out to those other people that we're not currently communicating to.
For that, I would recommend first the Altamont Enterprise, which pays pretty close attention to what libraries are doing, and that gets a general readership, not necessarily library readers. And the Times Union is also the next step that I would think about. If we do something interesting, they'll write a news article about it, and that would be a good thing. We could pay for an ad, but I think we got to do something interesting and then let them cover it.
You bring up the new mission statement and the strategic theme and everything and what we're trying to do. Luann, can we tap into the school district's thought exchange software or whatever? Because that's another thing we can use.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I would definitely love to look into that. And then Natalie has also said that Upper Hudson can do a focus group virtually for the community for free, which is awesome.
I just want to throw in the ironic question: would it be your position at Upper Hudson that would be doing that focus group?
It would be Mary Fellows and Tim. When I was doing it, I was just taking notes.
I think the thought exchange that the school district is using is a paid service. And I would be very surprised if we could piggyback onto it. It does, reach a lot of people. But the other thing that we did way back when with the original plan, we developed a set of questions as, we didn't use learning, enrichment, and enjoyment, but we used something else that I don't remember. But then we would, as volunteers from the board, the trustees, would go out to like the homeowners association down in Westmere, the senior citizen center out at that time, they were meeting at town hall. And there were a number of groups that we were able to get some feedback from, on our old plan, let's put it that way. So possibly that would be another way, once we develop this set of questions, that they can easily sort of, check off or comment on. And again, the problem with a checkoff thing, somebody has to compile that. So a focus group, in a sense, is a little bit easier because someone is taking notes and, can record those notes versus somebody sending in a stack of responses to a question that somebody's going to have to calculate and draw from. Any other
Well,
ideas?
What if there's a way to create just like a QR code that would pull to a survey people can access online, and it would aggregate all that information automatically? And I'm thinking places where people are like sitting and waiting, so like a DMV or a post office or some other like, community spots where people have the time to maybe fill it out while they're waiting, and have something like at the schools, like something that goes in like the district email or something like that when it goes to the parents of the schools. Like, if you're interested in providing feedback, here's the QR code, and they could just scan it.
Yep.
Yeah, that's modern technology that we could tap into.
Yeah, and I think you want to use the one question just the way they do it on the thought exchange, how can we help you find more learning, blah, 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 why? Which is the same pattern that they use in the thought exchange, which is very effective. People don't want to do 10 minutes, we want to know what how are they going to get, what do they want more of? How do they do that? And then the why gives you more details.
Mm-hmm. Okay, any other ideas on the focus groups? And an extension out to the community?
I would just throw in that while we were having that previous discussion, I was searching the hard drive of the library computer system, and it looks like the last time around we had a similar forum simply for getting suggestions for the long-range plan from the staff. I'll open the document in a minute and see if I can figure out how we collected that information. I do agree with Andy, who, if I heard him right, he was saying that the staff, whether they live in Guilderland or not, and by the way, it's about 42% of the staff that do, have a right and an interest in deriving meaning from the library collection and services. But it's almost more important to me that they have a right to contribute the ways that we make that meaning for people. Like they aren't just the users of the product, but really the creators of the project. And for the purposes of a long range plan, that second focus is more important than, I checked out a book today, but it isn't why I got paid,
Yep, exactly.
I was thinking that kind of discussion might be wonderful for Natalie to begin to have with staff. About, how can we help you? Well, there's two questions for the staff. The one question is, how can we help you find more learning, enrichment, and enjoyment? That's the personal piece. The other piece is the service to the community. How can we, the staff, provide, more? So there's really two questions for the staff. There's the personal one, and then there's the, how do we get the library better for all of this? And and I think that also gets at staff training and and all that kind of stuff too. Because how can the staff themselves learn more, get cultural enrichment, how can they enjoy their jobs more? So that takes care of your morale and stuff too. So that's a really good opportunity for staff meetings and stuff to get all of that in there from those two perspectives.
Natalie, sorry, but I love the idea of her doing that because she's brand new, but also is very experienced in the library world. So I'm volunteering you, but I know you'd volunteer anyway. There's some other aspect to it that I can't read. Oh, I looked at the document from the last time around, and it looks like we simply set up a anonymous staff suggestion email box, and I think we have the opportunity to do it a little bit better than that this time around. So.
Okay. The other part, the community piece that is in our old mission statement, our community. Most of the things are very similar, but we would have to update that to I think where those the 2020 census and get those figures perhaps from the town. I don't know, Tim, if that's something that you can just get for us, or Luann.
We can figure that out.
That'd be all right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, why don't we do this? Wrap up this meeting unless somebody else has some ideas. We've accomplished a mission statement. I will, and whoever else would like to work with Luann to develop some questions, like for focus groups. And anybody, please, if you're interested in participating, the more the merrier. And then once we get some of that background stuff done, we'll have another meeting of our group in its entirety. But in the meantime, if you have any ideas, suggestions, directions, this is totally open, totally fluid, and we certainly want to do a good job for the library and the community. Okay?
Can I say something here, Barbara, please?
Sure.
Okay, so Andy, I hope that I misheard you on something, and if I did, I apologize in advance. But when I look at the parts of the existing plan, I say to myself the following: the mission statement is the most important. A discussion of the community needs to be updated, and that's a good idea and is very important because that's not only who we serve, but who pays for the service. The purpose of the plan is blah, blah, blah. It's like, you got to have one. So that's why we have a plan. The significant accomplishments is nice, but it's backward looking. You know, it wouldn't hurt to have a significant accomplishments section in this thing, because we've done a lot of things since 2019 when we published this, or since 2016 when we published this. But to me, the heart and soul of this plan is, what are we hoping to do? And that's in the vision section. And with all due respect, I thought I heard you say, well, you can set the vision part aside. Did I hear that wrong?
What I said was that should be up with the mission statement, right up in the front. So we're now, what was in the vision there, okay, that's now in the mission. So where you've got the mission statement right up front, there should be some copy that explains, you know, excitingly what it is, right up front, okay? You don't even need to call it a vision because it's all in the mission, but you've got to have all the, you know, all the great stuff right up front on it, not back.
By putting it up front and right under the mission, you make it really the goal of the next 3 years or whatever length of time is to make this stuff happen. So great.
All set. Anybody have any other ideas, suggestions to share? If not, we will do some homework with Luann and Tim. And again, anybody who would like to participate with us, we will keep you posted as to what we're doing. And I thank you guys so much for a good beginning, I think.
Does anybody think it's worthwhile to set up a time for the next meeting way ahead of time rather than just say, well, when it happens, we'll happen it? Because my schedule's a little full, and I don't think I'm alone in that.
I think that's a good idea. Why don't we will send out a doodle poll, right, Luann? Tomorrow or the next day after Tim and Luann look at their schedules to see when they would be available. And we'll send that to you with a number of time frames and suggestions. Andy?
Yeah, so are we going to present the revised mission statement to the board next week for approval?
I think we should, unless
Okay.
somebody objects to that. Tim, are you okay with that?
Put up and send it to you.
I'm okay with it. I think that, you know, it was a fun and productive meeting. I think that, I guess I'll just tell you what I think, which is you're inviting an hour to an hour and a half of discussion at the board level about the first couple of sentences that we've worked on. So I would recommend holding it till we finish the plan and having them approve the plan as a whole, because you know, I get paid the same whether I go to a 3-hour meeting or a 2-hour meeting, but the mission statement means a lot to a lot of people. And I think we're going to have a long board meeting if we present that.
Okay, so you want to just from the standpoint of functionality, hold off on that a little bit?
That's my recommendation, but to quote Tony earlier, or to quote Elish, I won't die on that hill, but I will reserve the right to say I told you so if we spend an hour talking about it.
Okay, I'll buy that.
But
And
if your plan is based upon the new mission statement, you could run into problems with the whole concept of the plan. I don't disagree. I don't disagree with you on that, but that's the risk.
See, we're streaming live to the public, so I'm saying this a little bit in jest, but if there's an amended mission statement in the revised plan, and the revised plan is 6 to 10 pages long, the entire revised plan is what people will be talking about when we seek full board approval, thus meaning there'll be less attention on the mission statement. Then again, then again, they may focus just on the mission statement and let the rest of the plan go.
Well, the other thing too, though, Tim, this meeting is public. It's available. Every board member was invited to attend this meeting, and they can, if they weren't able to attend the meeting, they can do catch up by simply going to our website, correct?
Yes, but what if we did this as kind of a middle ground? Barbara, you're going to be, I think, saying that giving the committee report, and you could say, we designed the basic structure for how we're going to move forward, and we spent about a half an hour talking on the mission statement, and we considered various words to add and to subtract and so forth. And if you want to share it like verbally, then I think it would be somebody might call you after the meeting and say, gosh, there's a word in there that I'm really concerned about. But if you present it as a piece of writing for board approval, for one thing, the last long range plan was approved as a whole plan, and to approve parts of it, kind of invites scrutiny by the full board. And nothing against any of you, but one of our key problems is committees are supposed to have the authority to look at the subject matter and make a recommendation, and then the full board votes on the recommendation. I just think if we do, give them 1 page of the packet with the mission statement in it and ask for approval of that one piece, it's going to be a long night. Sorry if I'm repeating myself.
That's okay. Okay, message delivered. We will just give a general description of our meeting right now, and continue working on the plan as it begins to flesh out, and as we begin pulling in the various parts of our community and staff. We'll just keep them up to date. Okay. Well, again, thank you so much, everybody. Stay in touch. We will send out a doodle poll, as John recommended, tomorrow, and with various times. For most of you that are here right now, is this 5:30 time a good time, or would you rather do a noontime thing, or what's best for those of you that aren't retired?
These are better for me. It's just usually get my son around 5:30, so I would be on the phone and unfortunately unmuted.
Would 6 o'clock be better?
Sorry.
It's okay.
This is a little bit better. Most of the meetings I'm in are like 7. Sorry.
I said, would 6 o'clock be any better or not?
6 is fine. Yeah, I'm usually home by 6. The snow definitely threw me for a loop. I was trying to get out early. And also, I'm happy to help with the community outreach survey questions. If you want to
fantastic.
that.
Fantastic.
I have a background in marketing from a long time ago. So
wonderful. So maybe we will do like
surveys.
Those that are interested, like yourself, Luann, maybe Andy, myself, and whoever else is interested as we approach that project. We'd love to have your expertise and anybody else's. Great.
Yeah, no worries. Throw me in.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, guys. And as I said, we'll send out that survey for our next meeting tomorrow sometime. Okay. Thank you so much, John, for joining us, and everybody else.
Night all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye-bye.